Hey everyone, Ozzy here. Time for another Photoshop Lightroom NIK photo processing job of one of my photos I've taken. It's gonna be fun. We'll see me mess up quite a few times. Maybe I'll make something decent. Maybe I'll make crap. Who knows? Either way, just stick around. See you in a few moments. All right. Thanks. See you then. Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Ozzy here, and I'm going to do another photo processing of one of my ICM photos. This time it's another one from downtown. It's of a building that I chose a little while back. It's not the full building though. It's more of like a part of a tower, the corner of it. I kind of just liked it. It had this interesting vibe to it. I just kind of like the style of it. So it's definitely not like a full-on landscape shot, but it definitely has some macro portions to it, but it has some landscape. So I'm going to take this a little bit more from Lightroom than I did last time to show you the full process to some degree. And now I already have a preset on it, but I haven't selected any photos. I haven't done anything else. I haven't added any clarity or anything like that in general. But looking at a lot of things, I don't know if I'm gonna have to do a lot of clarity. So far, these all look kind of nice, as you can see. It has this nice blue feel to it. So I think I'm just gonna pick a few photos and we're gonna go from there. Now, if you did want to do anything else, like let's just take this for a second. If I did want to do any extra little portions, I'm gonna go up here to the develop tool, and then I'm gonna go on this left side here, and I'm gonna make some little changes. So we have quite a few little things we can mess around with. First thing I'm always going to do automatically, because I want to make sure I'm using the right stuff, is I'm going to remove chromatic aberrations and I'm going to enable the filters, because that's going to give me more of what the actual shot's supposed to look like once it takes all the portions out. And then I'm going to come back up to the original portion. This is the basics: exposures, contrast, highlights, shadows, things like that. Just going to mess around with just a little bit. I don't want to do too much. Like number one thing, I'm not going to mess around with clarity too much, but if you want to bring clarity down, it's going to give more of a hazy, fuzzy feel. Clarity up is going to get a little sharper. I kind of like normal. The haze already has that 15 on it. That's part of the filter. If you don't like it, bring that down and get more of a hazy feel. Bring it up and it's a little sharper. I'm going to keep it at the 15 where it was, because I did like the preset. So mostly what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to bring some highlights down. I am going to bring the exposure just a little bit more. There we go, just like that. Gives it a little bit more light to it, but doesn't blow it out. Slight level here, but we can deal with that. I think I'm going to take the vibrancy down just a little bit. Yeah, 20's good. Now, you know, if you want a slider, you haven't got that number, and it's like making things annoying, just double click right here, just type it in, hit enter, and automatically goes through. So you don't have to worry about going back and forth, try to get that. You want to hit that 5 number or number 1. You can't do it because it's just not quite there. Just use typing in, it's just easier. Levels and curves, you can do white, overall, red, stuff like that. I'm gonna keep that as is. You can mess around with the hue, saturation, luminance. I'm not gonna worry about that because I do stuff like that in Photoshop in general. I will, however, go in here to the sharpening tool. I'm going to bring the detail up by 100, but instead of sharpening itself, I'm going to bring the sharpening down a little bit. If you want to make it a little sharper, especially when you're working with nighttime lights and stuff like that, you kind of want to bring it up closer to 40, 60. It just helps that area, but I'm going to bring it down. Alright, now I have that. Now I want to make sure I'm selecting all these pictures, so I'm going to go back out to library, go down to where these photos stop at. As you see, I already have a couple of photos I've already done. I hit the shift and select, and then I'm going to deselect a few of these that have already been processed at one time that I kind of messed around with, because I don't want to put the same filtering on those because they've already been processed. And yep, that's all. I'm going to go back into the develop side. We hit the sync and synchronize. What that does is all the changes you actually did in one synchronize, does it to everything in one of them. Really nice nifty tool, so you don't sit there and do it over and over and over again. that would probably take my 1 to 2 hour process into like a 20-hour process, and who wants to do that? All right, next I'm going to go back to library, and now deselect. I'm just going to go and select a couple of photos I want to work with. So typically what I do is I like to just go by what the feel of the photo looks like, or the look of the photo. Like for instance, I already like this one. Kind of like this one, so I'm going to hit the control and click that one. I kind of like the way that has our little blurs. I'm going to click on this one here. This is kind of cool. You never know what you're going to select, so sometimes you may select something you really like, sometimes it just doesn't work. Like this is kind of cool. I like that. And I think I might go with this right here. Now, unfortunately, I mean, it is a tower, so it is probably gonna have a little bit of a phallic to it in general. I mean, towers do have a phallic portion, but you know, I'm not gonna try to go that route. We'll see. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know, I got 7 in there. I don't want to go any more than that. Look to make sure I want to use them all. Yeah, I'm good with 7. So going up to photo, edit in, and then open as layers in Photoshop. And I'm going to bring these all to Photoshop Transform River. So I'm done with Lightroom for right now. We're going to go into Photoshop. What we're going to do is we're going to mess around with the layers. We're going to do some blending. We're going to do some masking. We're basically going to clean this up to the point where it's almost a done deal as far as photo. And then we're going to mess with this more with NIK collection. Well, that's where all the magic really happens, but yeah. So, all right, so we got quite a few done here. All right. So I'm going to minimize this for right now, because even though we're going to go into NIK, we're not going to go right now. As you can tell, we have some space. If you want to decrease space, that's fine. If you want to increase it, Command 0 will actually make it as much space as you want to. For right now, I am just going to select all layers, and we're going to see what we come up with blends, see what we like. Okay. Bring them all the way down, darken, lightens, maybe, because I might be able to work with it. Some of it's really crazy. Overlay is not, you really can't see anything overlay at all. Bit of light, can't really do much with. Pin light's actually not too bad. Ooh, difference is definitely need a little LSD for that one. I think I am going to try lighten for right now. Now we might actually change it again once we get through this, so we'll see. This may not be the best photo in the world, but we're gonna find out. See what we can do with it. Okay, so we're gonna start out with this one right here, and then we're gonna move this one here around. So let's see. So like before, we're just messing around here. We're gonna try and move this in a way where it kind of fits a sort of a bit of an interesting photo. That, because you have this little curve right there, that kind of is a little bit nice. Let's do that. Okay. There we go. That's a little bit, it actually brings in this right here a little bit, so now we're actually, it was getting 2 towers, so we're actually kind of getting rid of that phallic feel to it to some degree, so that's actually really nice. So definitely want to do that. Alright, here's this again, bring it down. There we go. Now we're getting to a nice little painterly feel. And sometimes you just don't know what you're going to come up with. So far we have a very interesting, very tent look to it. So next thing is we're going to go ahead and take care of these little areas here. We're going to do some masking. Try to clean this foot up as much as possible. Gradient, get that. So next is to bring this up a little bit. Don't to be too much. There we go. This down. And you can see that this also brings out a lot of the blue, so it almost doesn't feel like you're doing as much of a gradient. So you can always bring this back here a little bit if you want to bring it down. And eventually, if you don't really like it, you can crop it out. But for right now, I'm not going to crop it out because I want to keep as much realistic as possible. And that's when you mess up, and that's when you really need to put our masking tool in. Everybody messes up. The key is after you mess up is can you work with it a little bit more and work with your mess up. And after a while when you're using these blends, well, I'm doing now because I can't see where the portion is, but I can see down in here. So I'm kind of following that to a degree. And what I will do after that, when you're not sure if you got all of those portions cut, is now I'm going to go ahead and do a select all again, all the layers. I'm going to change the blend because this also helps me find out if I missed any of the layers. If I change going through it, as you can see, there's a portion right there I just missed. So I may not like this right here, but this will tell me where I missed. And right there it was. So I missed a little bit. So I'm going to select that again. Bring this down. Down a little bit more. Means I gotta cover. There we go. That looks better. And if you notice, there's a little bit right there too. So now I gotta find out where that one is. Right there it is. So there we go. So now I am going to go back into one of the modes I like. Probably gonna be lighten. Lighten, darken, select all layers. There we go. Darken color just doesn't look right this time. Lighten still looks best. I think we saw pin light before. Pin light doesn't look too bad actually. The problem with pin light is we have a lot of sharpness right in here that you can see really well it is, and I do not want to do sharpness. So I think I'm going to stick with light, but what I may end up doing is light color instead. It's very similar, but it's lightly coloring up instead of everything else. And now I'm just going to go through each one of these and see if maybe there's something I do not want in here. Like, one thing I've noticed is, notice when you click this off, there's a lot of light in here. I kind of like keeping this portion right here, but when you pull it back in, that part's disappearing. So I think I'm going to bring that in. That's right in here, so let's select that. It's right in here. An interesting thing is, when you take that off, you notice you're getting a lot of colors around here in general. And almost like you don't really need this one that much. So you know what I'm thinking about doing? I don't think we need this layer. I am going to just delete that layer out. Don't need it, don't work with it. And instantly it already looks a lot better. This looks fine, I don't see any issues here. I actually like a lot of darkness down here a little bit more than lightness. Kind of gives a little more, so I think I'm going to work with this one here a little bit more. So I'm going to take a little bit out. This out. Alright, next one. Oop, definitely don't want to remove a lot of that. I'll keep that as is. That has a lot of light right there that I do not like. So what I'm going to try, I'm just going to first see if I like it. Let's remove some of it. Instantly much better. And so I'm going to remove this out of it. I want to keep a lot because I do like a lot of accents, so I'm not going to get rid of this. But you notice this part here looks nicer. So now, clear that out. Alright, so now we have a decent starting point. So I'm going to layer, I'm going to flatten, and I am going to say, yes, we're going to start there. Unlock that layer. We're going to create a new layer. Enter. You can name it something if you want to keep track of it. I don't worry about it too much unless I really need to keep track of it. Alright, and next thing is I'm going to start messing around with this to try and see what I can do. So the first thing I am going to do, because I want to sharpen this out a little bit, so I'm going to come up here to adjustments. And I'm going to come up here to the levels. I want to bring out some of these blacks in general and some of these whites. So I'm going to drop this down a little bit. I'm going to bring this up. And now I'm going to mess with the mids, which is going to add a little bit of contrast. There we go. Kind of like that. Yeah, that's nice because now I'm getting a lot of shadows right here. I'm getting some light. Now everything's kind of pointing to this side right here. So I'm really liking that. Another thing you could do, just in case you're having, because normally we'll go ahead and we'll put some color in here, but let's go ahead and just see what we can do with some hue saturation adjustments. Let's see what happens first. See if it makes any interesting changes. See, I kind of like it, but for right now, I think I'm just going to not worry about it. Maybe later on we might go back into it. So I'm going to do it for now and then. I'm just going to go into add some like orange again. And then we're going to do some multiply to see if we can cover some things up. So go a little bit more. That just gives it a little bit of warmth. Not a whole lot, because I don't want to get rid of these nice blue colors either. And the other thing I don't want to get rid of is these little patterns up here. I want to keep that because that's really nice. It has like a nice windy pattern. Okay. Another layer. So now I can do one of two things. I can go ahead and put some more orange. What I'm going to try, let's see what happens. Using overlay. I'm going to try overlay first. Maybe do a little bit of blue. And orange overlay doesn't seem like it's working too much. So I'm going to get rid of that. Let's see if soft light does anything. Sometimes you just hit the right ones. Lots of times you just have to trial and error just to see what you like, because you never know if it's going to work or not sometimes. And you know, soft light's okay. We're gonna keep it for right now. I'm gonna add another layer, but for right now I'm gonna just pull the eyeball off just in case. Now I'm gonna try a little bit of blue. I want to see what happens. So blue. Let's say blue in the overlay, see what happens here. I'm actually kind of liking that a little bit better. I don't want too much because I don't want to get rid of this orangey feel right here. So maybe let's bring it down to like maybe 7 might be good. Let's leave it at that. Now I'm going to click the eyeball. I just want to see what happens if we do that. You know what? I think I'm going to keep it because it does bring out the orange a little more, and even though the blue's very good. So I think we're good. Now, there's another thing I've been noticing right here as well. Much as I like it, I do not like this little light thing here. I don't like that. So I am going to come back down to this first layer copy, and I'm going to do some edit fill. So I'm going to get rid of this. Edit fill. There's another reason why I do it this way here, because if you're not sure if you like it and you go through it, then you can always go back to the original copy. See? And this is already instantly looking 10 times better to me. Get rid of this little mark. Kind of like that. This is okay. But actually, I'm not really sure I really like that massive mark right there. So I might just gotta get rid of it. There we go. And then there's a streak right here I'm not really fond of. So we get rid of that. Anything else? Not seeing anything. And you know, if you have like dust spots, you definitely want to clear dust spots off. Dust spots, if you get that, you go up here to the spot remover and just click, click, click. Just like right here, you can click and take that off. Click, take that off. Take that off, you know, things like that. You know, just go ahead and click. If you actually take some off, you don't want to, Control Z, that will take care of it. So Control Z for Windows, Command Z for Mac. Okay, so we got that. I kind of like the way this is looking now. Not sure if I like this. I think I'm going to clear some of this out down here as well, because it's a little bit too extra vibrant and blue for me. I'm gonna fill this. That's better. This is really coming out really vibrant, but you know, sometimes vibrant works, sometimes it doesn't. Alright, I kind of like the way this is looking. So now that we have a working version, this does look really nice. Next thing we can do is go into Analog Effects Pro. So NIK Analog Effects from the Nikon collection, which you can go ahead and get a free download if you want for a trial. There's presets that I use, I make myself. I use Andy Gray's presets, which by the way is in the description if you want to use that. They're really good. So they'll get you to a really good start, and then you kind of go from there. So I'm going to look at my presets first to see if I like anything there, and then I'm going to look at Andy Gray's presets, see if they work right there. So these are mine right here. So let's see what we have here. Now that's interesting. I'm not sure if I like it, but I like the coloring. Okay, so these are mine. I want to look at Andy Gray's. I want to see if he has some really good stuff. I usually get some really good results off of Andy Gray's presets. So let's see what we have here. That's nice and dark and creepy. That's kind of neat. That's kind of cool. just never know what you're gonna like. What I'm doing on this side right here is I'm looking at colors. I'm looking at what shapes it's building on. Because sometimes I like this right here, Churchill sketches. Right like this. What that's doing is blending the whites really a lot more, making the castle almost sort of appear out of magic. I kind of like that. That's really kind of cool. I'm gonna keep looking because I may not want this one here, but so far this is my front runner. I mean, I love dark, but the white one really speaks to me right now. They're all kind of looking very similar. That's interesting. Kind of like it. Not sure if I really like it. Kind of. I'm not sure yet. We'll think about that one too. So far, I'm liking Andy Gray's presets a little bit better for this one than I like for myself. And that happens. Andy Gray is amazing. I wouldn't be where I am right now doing these things if it wasn't for his. I learned a lot of him, so it wouldn't surprise me. I find more of his presets than I find on my presets. Sometimes he makes me jealous to see the fact he does things so nice and easy, and I struggle, but hey, you know, that's the way we learn. That's actually kind of cool looking too. Okay, so these are the ones I like. This one. Sort of like this one, but not really. So I think this one was kind of cool. Has a weird beaming vibe to it. I think that first one I was looking at that has that nice cloudy look. I think that's gonna be the one I'm gonna look at. Yeah, Churchill sketches. This is a really nice one. I think I'm gonna work with that one. All right. So with Churchill sketches, I mean, this is a good one. It has double exposure, which we love, detail extractor, so basic adjustments, get lens vignette, film type, levels and curves, all the really good basics. But the first thing I'm going to be working with though is I'm going to be working with this double exposure in general. You can kind of work with the basic adjustments, but double exposure will probably help you out a little more because at least you kind of get an idea of where you're going. So I'm going to just move this around, see what I can. Because you may not want to go with the original, you may want to veracity to something else. So what I'm trying to do when I move this around, I already know this is my main subject. I'm trying to accentuate that in a way where it actually sets it off even more. Sometimes you want to do it in a way where it's drawing lines. Sometimes you want to do it where it's just like depth, color. It just really depends on what you have. You don't want to keep the same way that the presets are. You can move it around, flip it. Use the sliders, do other things to it. You just never know what you like. Keep coming to something like this right here where I'm bringing out the orange. That's interesting. When you find something, play with it just a little bit more because you may find something else or you may want to keep back to it. And if you ever, not like something and you're not sure what it is, just click out, go back in. It'll bring you right back to where it was. You can start completely over. Right now, I'm kind of liking what I'm seeing now. I'm kind of liking this diagonal vibe to it. It gives a nice little diagonal vibe here. It gives some blues right here, some oranges. I want to bring it over a little more. I don't want the full-on diagonal vibe right here because I want the blues and the oranges to match with all this, not just here and here. So I'm going to bring it over just slightly. Bring it up maybe. So I have. I think I kind of like. Like that. Kind of like that right there, because now I'm getting these lines right here where it's bringing me over. So I have something down the bottom, it's bringing it up right here. I'm having this paint over here, so I'm still getting the same type of vibe to it, but everything's pointing to this right here in general. So kind of like that. Next thing, I'm gonna mess around with the exposure balance just a little. I want to see what happens if I go down and up. I want to see make some really cool changes. That's a little too much. Keep it right there. So it was only just a little bit off from where it was. I just tweaked it just slightly. So I'm going to bring it to like maybe 5% more than what it originally was. I'm not going to mess with zoom strength or rotate strength, but basically what that will do is that just makes it bigger or rotate everything around. Kind of like where it's at right now, so I can mess with it. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to mess around with the basic adjustments. Bring it up a little bit and see what happens. Down. I'm going to bring it up just slightly just to bring out a little bit more in here. And you notice when you do basic adjustments, especially when you bring up, so it's going to make things a little brighter. So just keep that in mind too. If you don't want it to be too bright, you don't want to mess with that too terribly much, you might have to adjust a little bit. Here, I kind of think the brightness actually helps. I don't go too far, so 11% I think is good. And you can always bring the brightness down here if you want to, but I think I'm going to keep it right about, yeah. Because the nice thing about putting right there is I'm also getting this nice line right here as well. There we go. Take the contrast down just slightly. I'm also going to take the saturation down just a little bit, because right here is good, but I want it to be more accents so that the orange not full on. Right there is good. Okay. Next thing I'm going to mess around with is the lens vignette. Lens vignette will help me add depth to it. As you can see right here at 22%, so this is going to be more of a white lens vignette. Depends on where I want that at. kind of like it more like this. I don't want to be on this right here too terribly much, but I do want to bring it over just slightly compared to how this was. Because down here, I'm putting more emphasis on here. So I'm going to keep that. So now I have, it's already set to warm, it's set to 1, but I'm going to play around here and see if there's anything here I'd like a little bit better. Ooh, that's a little way too bright. So try some cool. It's a little sickly. Kind of brings it back to the original color, which is good, but it's a little too vibrant. So I'm kind of going between 1, this subtle, and then the warm, which was the original one. I might keep it this right here because this is matching out with this. It's all drying right here. But even though the other one has like a nice bright look to it, and I am starting seeing some things, but I'm not seeing as much. I'm seeing more bright around here. And you can fade it up more if you want to, fade down less. I'm thinking less of a fade than more. Actually, I'm thinking more because more is actually giving this like over here a nice blend. Here we go. So then I can bring the strength up, more it down. I think I'm gonna keep it where it's at. I'm not gonna mess around too much with this. Ooh. And you see, I just made a mess up right there. All you gotta do is hit Control Z and we're back to it. So whatever I did, which was probably messing around with the hardness, I messed that up. So oof. I'm not gonna mess around over here because I can mess around that another time. I'm gonna hit apply. That's gonna take care of a lot of things. Now, obviously, there is another issue right here that I need to take care of right away, as I got this looking fairly nice. First, I'm gonna do is to duplicate layer because I don't want to lose where I'm at. I got a second layer. This line right here is way too much straight down, so I am going to do a fill up here. See what happens? And it's already 10 times better. Of course, this needs to be edit filled here as well because now I got a sharp line. There we go. That looks better. I'm liking that. So now that you have all this right here and you a couple blends and stuff like that, next thing I am going to do, I'm going to use NIK collection again. This time I'm going to go into Vivenza. What Vivenza is going to do is going to help me to bring stuff out, pulls things down, whatever you want. You do have presets here as well if you want to. Go ahead and play around if you want to in general. Sometimes they look better, sometimes they don't. Like here, high contrast. It looks sort of nice, sort of not nice. It just depends on your aesthetics. And sometimes you can actually take these in general and actually use them as a preset and work on what other presets are. Let me see here. See if I like anything. I do like some of the high contrast. What I don't like is all around here, but I do like some of this stuff in general. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look to see what it has. It looks like this high contrast is overall. So I am going to invert that. See, that's up to 72. Bring it back down. See where all that was. Now, I am going to brighten this up as a whole, not too much. Now I'm going to use control points. See what happens right here. If I add contrast to this whole area in general. Because you can add so much and it just does not look right. Bring it down. And then you can just sit there and move around and see what you really like. And what I actually like, I like contrast a little bit over here, but this just feels too much because you see it's bringing this stuff out and I don't like that. So now I'm going to delete now. And what this also is telling me is I have these little things I may have to go in and actually leave those things out. So I'm going to cancel, close out saving, and do a couple more edit fills. You don't want to do too much. Like, see what happened right there? I did all that, and now it's doing these little things that doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I'm going to Control Z that, bring it out of that. So what you'll end up doing sometimes is you make it worse. Let's try again. So actually a little bit better. It doesn't look as stringent. I'm going to take this portion right here off. Maybe see what happens if I do that instead. See, that already looks 10 times better. I'm still getting this little contrast right here. I'm getting a little bit of light. That's not as bad. Now I'm just going to do this. See what happens if I just do that fill instead. And that's already looking better. Alright, I'm liking this a lot better already. Okay, now I got that. Now let's go into the Venza. See, you're doing a little bit of edit filling, but you're not actually changing the photo as a whole. You're still keeping the essence of the photo. So I'm going to take that off because I don't really need that any longer. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to make an adjustment overall. Add a little bit of warmth to it. Don't want to be too much. I kind of like that blue sky, but I want some more warmth. There we go. Take these highlights down slightly because I don't want to blow highlights out. I also don't want to be like -15, and that's what happens sometimes. So let's try maybe a -5. Okay, that's a little better. Alright. Next thing is I am going to go down here and use control points because I do not want to mess around here. So next thing I'm going to do is see how all this stuff here looks really nice, but it gets some really odd portion right here. So I'm going to take this down here, and I am going to increase the size of that. And of course I added 1 instead of increasing the size, which that happens quite often, so you got to delete out, but you know what happens. I'm going to decrease some structure. So I want that a little bit less sharp right here for these things in general. And I'm also going to take some contrast out of there, and that's going to help with that. And then I'm going to check to see if that looks better. And that automatically area looks better right there. Because now my eyes aren't going straight to it, my eyes are still going over here. So the next portion is I'm going to add a little bit of contrast over here. And you can do over here, or you can do over here. Like, these are the same controls, here to here, but you have to be careful because this control point goes on here, but this up here is the picture as a whole. So sometimes if you're not sure, it's just easier to use this portion. Like, a little bit of contrast up here, which is a little too much. There we go. I'm also going to add a little bit of blacks. That out. Some shadows. And that's only just to bring out the darkness over here a little bit, but I don't want to be too much because we are also having some lighting over here in general. Okay. I'm going to do another control point. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. There's the contrast. Black maybe. And let's try a little bit of shadow. I think I want to take a little bit out of that then too. I like that shape, but I want it to be a little bit less. So take some contrast out and some structure. It still allows you to see it, doesn't remove it, but it makes it a little more like distance. Okay. I think I'm good. I'm going to hit apply. You know what? That's a little bit too sharp right there as well. Actually, so let me. Structure. Where's my contrast? There it is. Take some of my contrast out of that. That's a little too sharp. But I definitely want to keep the blacks up. Yeah, it looks better. Okay. If you're not 100% sure, there's a slider. Do that, see your changes, lay it out. And if you want to look up, here's up and down, see what that looks like. If you want to see what it looks like original, there it is. You got a slider. That's for all the NIK stuff, so that's kind of nice. Hit apply. We'll see how much we like it. And the nice thing is, if you're not 100% sure you like it completely, but you do like some of it, you can always opaque it too. So I kind of like it better. So here's the original. Here's like that. My eyes are now going directly here instead of around here. We know I do see these things, just more peripheral. Problem is, it's all I'm seeing now, so I do want to bring it down just a shade. Okay. Go. Got that. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this into Color FX. Color FX, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends. I mean, there's some coloring you can do, there's tonal contrast. I'm probably not going to do any tonal contrast. I'm going to go with some architecture. I want to see what I may be able to do, what I might not. So I'm going to try graduate filters first, just to see if there's anything cool that can come with. That's nasty. And if you kind of like it, but you're not 100% sure, always mess around with the other colors, because that right there only gives you a couple colors, but this gives you a whole bunch. See, I'm kind of liking this a little bit more now. There's the sliders a little bit, blend it in a little bit more or less. I'm definitely going to blend it in more. You can bring it down more if you want to, up more. Kind of like it right about there. You can even rotate, so this is down here. So let's see what that looks like. Actually liking this. Gives it sort of like a castle-y feel to it. So we like that. It has a nice little castle, almost like an edgy feel to it. Brings things out a little more, brings some light this way. I'll probably have to work a little bit up here to some degree, but I still like it. I'm actually liking this a lot. I don't really want to mess around with it too much more, so I'm just going to apply. I'm going to have to mess around up here in this little area in general. So first thing I'm going to do is I am going to hit Control and duplicate the layer. Now, when I say mess around, I'm just testing the waters. I may not. We'll see what happens. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to see what happens if I do a edit fill. It may not work. It may work. Look at that. It worked. Sometimes it pays off. Sometimes it doesn't. And now we have a really nice painterly feel. Summer. That looks really nice. Now the next thing is looking at the possibility of cropping. Right now I kind of like the way it's looking. It may not crop it up, but I definitely want to test the field out to see if I want to or not. Actually, there's one other thing I might actually try to do. I might actually go in, let me do another duplicate. I don't want to lose this. I just want to see what happens if we're going to mess around with the hue a little bit first. See what happens. That's actually kind of cool. I just want to see something. We're probably not going to use this, but I want to see what happens. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a mask. And now I'm going to do a gradient. Okay, that is really, really interesting. I'll bring it back just a little bit. I actually kind of like this. Completely different than what I normally would do. I'm going to bring this up a little bit. Now we have almost like a storybook vibe to it, I feel like. Still has a castle. I'm still going to work up here. I think I want to mess around a little bit with this. Let me see here. Sometimes maybe a different gradient will actually work out, sometimes it won't. I'm going to just continue with this in general, but I'm going to bring this back a little bit. Nope, I think I'm just, oh, backwards. Take that out. Sometimes, if you're not 100% sure about that, do another layer, another gradient, but this time I'm just going to change the colors. See, I'm going to keep that orange color right here. Now I'm going to do this. So I kind of like that a little better, but then now I'm going to opaque it. That way I'm still getting that blue color to come in, but it's not overbearing. I'm getting a lot more of the orange. There we go. So now the blue is also matching with this blue, this orange matching with this orange. Yes, I kind of like that. All right, select, deselect layers. Next thing is cropping. Let's see if we want to do any cropping or not. I'm thinking everything's fine, but you just never know sometimes. Sometimes, let's see what we want. We have gold ratio, so we have a gold spiral. Select orientation, gold ratio, triangles. Let's see if we can do select orientations. Ooh, kind of like that. Let's just see here. And there we go. Maybe not. Let's try a little bit less. Let's bring it back to original. Play around with it a little bit more. See, sometimes you like one and you want to try to force it. It doesn't really force very well. I think I like that though, because now you know the spiral goes to that portion right there. It's kind of all over. You could, if you want to, bring it over more so that this comes in there, but it doesn't really work out well. So I'm going to just keep it that because that's about as close as I'm going to get to it. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to save. I'm going to save as. I'm going to do this a PDF or a Photoshop because if I want to go back in, great. And spiral. Castle. Storybook Castle. Name it Storybook Castle for right now. Let's see what happens here in general. And as I do this, the first thing I'm seeing right off the bat is like, oh, I just saved this. I just saw something I want to actually correct because it's, there's a little portion up here. So once it's done saving, I'm going to kind of mess around here. I'll just do an edit fill on it because that's an eyesore to me all of a sudden. Can't believe I missed that. But you know, you're going to miss things all the time. And then you gotta wait for the saving to get done, and it just takes forever sometimes. We're almost there. Almost there. And then, you know, edit fill in. Might have to save again. I don't want to get too much because I like the way the color matches over here in general, but it is just too much of it all at once. So I think I'm gonna do this, bring it down just slightly so I can still see it and remove some of it. Oh, and if you do that, you do have to be selecting it. If you don't select it, you're not really edit filling anything. I do it all the time. Select, deselect. Yeah, it looks a lot better to me. Alright, file, save. That's going to do another save. Won't take nearly as long, but at least it looks a little bit better. Doesn't look as choppy. And what's going to happen after it saves is going to go directly into Lightroom, and we're going to see this version in Lightroom itself. And if you want to continue doing some depth type things, you can. If not, then we're pretty much done. But at least that'll be another place where you can use some depth editing as well. As always, it takes forever a day for it to save. While it is doing this in general, just remember Andy Gray's presets are always really good to buy. Give him some support. Check out his feed. It's where I learned all my post-processing. I'm a member admin for the ICM PhotoMag Network magazine on Facebook, so go there. Reach out to me, talk to me. I'm happy to discuss things, stuff like that. Here we go in Lightroom. Go back to develop. And also at the same time frame, you know, it's like if you want to, you know, there's also the ICM PhotoMag that comes out quite often. Get a subscription to it. You will learn a lot, see a lot of great pictures. It's a win-win. So I'm going to do a gradient, linear gradient. I'm going to see if I can actually bring some things out and give it a little more depth. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to go down here to the bottom. And I want to see if I can just give it a little bit more darkness. Yep, there we go. I like that better, right? Because that's just make it a little bit more in your face. And I could have came up here and brought the light out, but I feel like that's going to accentuate things a little bit too much, where this gives a little more subtlety. And close that, keep it where it's at. Now I'm going to export this. And I'm going to name this one Storybook Castle, or Storybook Castle. So one of the things I do love about both Abstract and ICM, you can take a normal photo of a corner piece of a building and with a little bit of post-processing, creative post-processing here and there, you can change it to something completely different. You still keep the essence of it, but you can make your own story, your own landscape out of it. But that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed watching me do some post-processing, watching a couple mistakes, seeing how my processing goes through. If you liked it, like the video, if you want to see more of it, subscribe. You'll actually see more I'm doing as I go through. Leave a comment if you'd like to as well. I'm very open to video ideas, what you want to see. I already have a couple I'm already planning to come out, but if you have an idea you want to see, like if you want to specifically see how to do things through NIK, let me know in comments. You want to see more Lightroom stuff, you want to see more Photoshop stuff, you want to see more things, the actual camera work that I do, you know, how I actually move the camera around, you know, how many photos I'm doing when I'm out in the field and stuff like that in general, how I'm picking subjects to photograph. Drop me a comment in the YouTube comments and let me know. I'm good with any feedback. If you say, hey, speak up a little bit, you're mumbling too much, tell me. I need to know this stuff. I know I mumble. I try not to. It happens, you know. But, you know, until then, have a good time. Enjoy learning ICM. I enjoy doing these photos for you. Hopefully, we'll have another one here fairly shortly. And, yeah, eventually we're going to get some really bad ones here soon. You'll see that I am not that great. But I like the way I do, so. Alright. Till then, thanks for showing up. Have a great day. Enjoy. Bye.